Hi everyone, and welcome to what I hope will be a series of COVID convos with friends and colleagues across various industries and sectors about how things have been for them and their jobs during the lockdown and how they see us coming out the other side now that the government has started to safely get the country back to business by relaxing some of the lockdown measures. So my guest for this first episode is Ashley Ball. He's the production editor at the Barnsley Chronicle newspaper, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how they've been getting newspapers out during these very trying times. So Ash, how on earth does a newspaper that's been working out of a newsroom for 150 years plus, how do you react and adjust to a situation like the lockdown?
Well, it's definitely been a challenge. I suppose newspapers are always having to adapt anyway in this modern world to stay competitive and stay relevant to some people. How have we adapted? Well, I think plans were put in place by the IT department ahead of lockdown, just in case we did end up in this scenario, which obviously we have. And then it was a case of ascertaining how many people could work from home, what implications that would have for all the servers. And I think a plan was put in place as the skeleton staff who would be needed in the office, and the staff who could safely work from home without being hindered too much. Obviously, journalists are on the key workers list, so we do have a skeleton staff in the office, and they are allowed to be there. Obviously, it's important to get the government's message out, and to local newspapers are important tool to doing that.
Is it more difficult, given that you're used to all being together, in the newsroom? Is it more challenging, given you're not getting that camaraderie and collaboration, the piss taking essentially that you get when you're all in the newsroom together?
Yeah, I mean, there's a WhatsApp group for the editorial staff, which was set up in advance for the staff that are working, and it's obviously all transferred onto that WhatsApp group. There are definitely communication issues, because it's one thing sending WhatsApp messages or individual messages to people. One thing I've noticed is that part of my job as production editor is to shout around the office at certain people at certain times for either a clarity on something, or whether an advert's what size it needs to be, all these sort of things, and something that definitely took for granted. So that's one thing that I've encountered personally. I think on Thursday, which is our deadline day, I'm essentially making more than 30 phone calls to people in the office, people who are working from home, and trying to get all that to come together is it's chaotic on a Thursday, but we always get there. Obviously, just means you have to plan a little bit more in ahead, just to sort of counteract these issues that might occur. Not so much issues, they're just everyday newspaper problems that you have. Say I need 100 words to fill a gap, and someone's only written 150. Can I cut it down? Is this bit important? Little queries like that. I just, my day to day, I'd be shouting across the office and getting a quick message back. Then I know what to do. But it's taking a bit longer to do those sort of things because of the communication issues and people being scattered around all over the place. But obviously that's the situation. That's the hand we've been dealt, and we cope in, which is great, and it's encouraging to finish the newspaper every week.
I know certainly from our experience working in a PR agency as I do, it is that kind of those quick conversations that you do have around the office. You don't realise how many of them you have until you've got to do it all digitally.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about adverts and filling space and what have you. How difficult is that now? Surely, budgets are so tight within companies that advertising is one of the things that takes a backseat.
Definitely, yeah. Practically, probably 95% of businesses have sort of shut up shop throughout this period. Barnsley's adverts tend to be not really national ones. They do tend to be businesses within the town who operate within the town. So I'm talking cafes, garden centres, Indian restaurants. These sorts of places are loyal advertisers. So I think we've had to be creative in terms of bringing money in, which is credit to the editor, Andrew Harrod and the advertising department. They have, so we've run a lot of advertorials in this period. For people who don't know, advertorial is copy in a newspaper that a business or a firm or a school or a governing body would pay for. Yeah, we've been running quite a lot of news from local schools. Barnsley's schools they all merged about a decade ago, so they are huge schools. So there's a lot of news coming out of them. Obviously, it's a way of parents sort of seeing what's going on at the schools as well. A large chunk of Barnsley's secondary schools have paid for advertorials, which is useful, obviously, to our revenue, and also for them to get the message out as to what they're doing as a school. There's been quite a few. We have got advertisers on sort of long-term deals, so they sign up for the year. So those adverts are still going in. I think there's been a few sort of goodwill gestures done on our part in terms of we can run a few adverts, perhaps at either a lower rate or little deals like that. So when they do get back up and running, and all 4 of our MPs who cover the Barnsley area have taken adverts out as well as the CCG, the Crime Commissioner for South Yorkshire, and obviously Barnsley Council and Barnsley College, who we work with closely anyway. They've taken out sort of large adverts with us, which has helped them to get their messages out to residents and pupils, students, parents alike. So in terms of ad revenue, obviously it's been hit because you're not getting, like particularly in the classified section. I mean, a big part of the classified section for us is, local plumbers and local builders and handymen, also working men's clubs and what acts they might have on over the weekend. And obviously they're obviously shut down, the working men's clubs, and a lot of the businessmen aren't working, the tradesmen. So it has been hit, but I think credit to the editor and the department for coming up with ideas to bring revenue in. Obviously that keeps the newspaper going, keeps jobs, and obviously means we've got a bulky paper for people to read on a Friday.
One of the things that sets the Chronicle apart a little bit from other sort of local weeklies is that it's still, it's family owned, it's in private hands, which is very rare these days. Is that a help or a hindrance in the situation? Would you not rather be, part of a bigger group, a JP or a Reach, for example?
So the Chronicle's owned by the Hewitt family. We've owned it for quite some time, and they're very supportive of what we're doing. The chairman rang round the staff last week. Obviously had a messages for us to keep going. It will get easier, which I think was a boost for everyone. I think the editor's constantly in touch with the directors as well, just giving updates on how we're doing, and I think the consensus is we've got the support of the Hewitt family, and they're quite happy with the product that we're still putting out in spite of these difficult times. So in terms of the newspaper's content, we have dropped the classified section, which was essentially entertainment and light news. Obviously, there's no entertainment going on at the moment. So what we've done is we condensed the classified section to within the broadsheet section, which means we are still churning out 20 to 24 pages every week, which broadsheet pages as well. So obviously that'd be a 48 in the tabloid, which I think is pretty impressive for. We've got a fairly young staff, inexperienced staff, but yeah, we are doing well on the papers. It's not a struggle to fill. In terms of news, there's a lot of people doing charitable events, charitable ideas that they're coming up with. So there is quite a lot of news going on in Barnsley, and obviously, as the only local newspaper, it's our job to make sure that all gets reported on. And yeah, we are still doing that, and 3 broadsheet pages of sport every week as well, which is which is some effort by the sports editor.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely astounds me. I'm in York, and I get the York Press through my door every day, and the fact that they're even managing to put a sports page together, a single sports page together, the back page, never mind, and a couple of pages inside as well, is nothing short of phenomenal. And it's fantastic that the local press is really doing the job that they're there for. It's sounding the horn for local pride and shining a light on local issues, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think contrary to what some people might think, I think newspapers are seemingly even more relevant now than they were before locally. We on the first week of lockdown, we did have people ring up the office. Elderly residents in Barnsley were concerned that the Chronicle's the thing they look forward to reading all week, and they're concerned they wouldn't be able to get a copy. Now, I know we did arrange for those to be personally delivered safely, so that they wouldn't miss out on their newspaper every week, which it's nice to get those phone calls where obviously the Chronicle to some people means so much, and obviously we're happy to help get the news out even in an individual basis to residents. Yeah.
What other adjustments then have you guys made to make the paper more accessible? Because obviously physical deliveries is a little bit, people aren't wanting to necessarily go out to the shops and get the paper. So have you done anything to make it more accessible for people?
Yeah, so now available, we have the Chronicle, which is available to buy online as a PDF, which we brought in the first week of lockdown. The sales have gone quite well, quite surprised, pleasantly surprised by how the sales have gone. So yeah, it's the full paper, just emailed straight to you. So obviously there's no risk involved. You don't have to leave the house really to still get your Chronicle, which can be viewed on laptops and tablets and perhaps some phones. So that's one thing that we've done, and obviously that's instantaneous as well. We appreciate some people prefer the physical newspaper, but I think for perhaps expats and people living out of Barnsley as well, that's a nice way in normal circumstances for us to still deliver Barnsley news to people who are interested. So that's another way. Obviously, our website as well keeps people up to date through the week rather than just Friday, which is the dates out in the shops.
Pivoting a little bit to sport and to football, you do obviously cover sport and football with the Chronicle. You also yourself work for the Press Association and covering matches at Rotherham. So obviously, as we speak on Friday, the clubs are having a chat now about League One, League Two, about how they're going to finish this season. What are your thoughts on the concept of football coming back, and has it been handled well, do you think?
I think I mean, I wouldn't like to be in the decision-making process myself. It is extremely complex, and obviously the connotations for all manner of clubs, particularly Barnsley on a local level. I mean, Barnsley obviously are adrift at the bottom of the table, 7 points adrift with 9 games to go. We've got a chance of staying up. It is only a chance, but obviously Barnsley are noted for their escapades in getting out of trouble. So I would like to see Barnsley given a shot to get out of trouble. I think expunging the league with 9 games to go doesn't quite seem right. I think it's too much. There's too many games being played for you to just wipe out the season. Obviously, the teams at the top are going to be championing that as well. In terms of football coming back, I think it needs to be safe. We don't want games particularly played behind closed doors, but if that is the only option and the only safe option, I think perhaps non-sport fans won't appreciate that sport obviously does cheer a lot of people up. But in times like this, sport would be required. I think losing the Olympics obviously is a blow as well, because obviously that's a 4-year cycle that people look forward to. Free-to-air television as well, so it's watched by millions around the globe. So I think sport is important, but it's not so important that lives should be endangered. I think talk of footballers turning away after making a tackle, and it's just not natural for footballers who've been playing since they were little boys to sort of alter their routines. I think if he needs to, when it comes back, it needs to be as normal as possible, even if fans are not allowed in. So yeah, it's a big decision. I think if we have to wipe out next season, and just finish this season when we can, and then start again properly, hopefully next August, and obviously just skip a season. But I mean, it's a big decision. Obviously, there's contracts and a lot of money flying around, TV deals, so it's very hard. Barnsley are encountering issues because they had quite a lot of their squad live abroad, so I think the bulk of them are due to return home over this weekend. So obviously they have to sit out a quarantine process as well, including the head coach. So yeah, there's a lot to think about and figure out. Yeah, I think football obviously needs to return, but only when it's safe to do so.
Yeah, certainly don't envy those decision makers in the football league. It's going to be quite the challenge for those guys to work out what on earth is going to happen. Ash, it's been great to catch up with you. Thank you very much for your time, and yeah, keep cracking on with that paper.
Will do. Thanks, Tom.
That's just about it for today's episode, but if you'd like to see more, then please give the like button a little click, or even better, share it with a mate. The next episode will be coming soon, so keep an eye on my LinkedIn and Twitter for more info. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.